So we finally have real details on the upcoming 3.1 banners in Wuthering Waves, and the character everyone's already talking about is Aemeath. She's the featured 5-star, Fusion Sword main DPS, and she's also the first character in the game who literally transforms into a mech mid-combat. The preview alone made it obvious why so many people are already sold on her visuals and animations, but the more interesting part is how her kit actually works and whether it lives up to that first impression. So to help people get ready, it helps to zoom out and look at what her design is trying to do. Aemeath is built around 2 distinct combat modes that shift how she deals damage. One focuses on single target output, and the other leans into wide area pressure. Her resonance liberation damage is a major part of her identity, and she has a special resonance mode called Toon Rupture that scales based on how many teammates can respond to it. That mode is clearly tuned for boss fights and priority targets. On the other side, she has Fusion Burst, which pushes her AoE potential by triggering repeated bursts of damage, making her much better at handling groups. It's not just cosmetic form switching, each mode genuinely changes how she plays. Now, if you're building Aemeath around her Fusion Burst side, Chisa actually lines up with her kit in a pretty natural way. When Fusion Burst is stacked to its max, all stacks will be removed to trigger an explosion, dealing fusion damage around the target. Fusion Burst effect stacks up to 10 times by default. The higher the stacks, the more DMG dealt. Chisa doesn't care about tune mechanics at all, and that's kind of the point, as her outro increases max stacks of negative states, like Havoc Bane or Electro Rage, and now Fusion Burst, which directly improves damage potential over the course of a fight. Her value comes from making enemies more vulnerable in general, on top of her defense shred and negative state interactions in her kit. You're not trying to set up precise tune responses here, you're trying to maximize raw damage output during those big AoE moments. On top of that, Chisa's Liberation gives you team healing, which sounds small until you realize how aggressive Aemeath's rotations are. Being able to stay on the field and fully commit to Fusion Burst without worrying about chip damage actually smooths out her gameplay a lot. So if your goal is to play Aemeath against groups of enemies, Chisa fits that rhythm surprisingly well. The trade-off is that Chisa doesn't help at all with Aemeath's Toon Rupture side, and that matters if you're aiming for maximum single-target DPS checks. Toon Rupture is where Aemeath really starts to feel like a boss killer, but that mode only shines if your teammates are constantly feeding her the right Toon interactions. That's where Lynae and Mornye come in. Lynae is built to apply Toon Rupture reliably and boost resonance liberation damage, which directly feeds into Aemeath's strongest single-target windows. Mornye complements that by accelerating Toon Break and stabilizing those rupture cycles, while also bringing healing and buffs. Together, they make Aemeath's Toon Rupture state way more consistent and way more explosive against priority targets. So the difference isn't really who is better, it's what kind of gameplay you're trying to play. If you want her to be a Fusion Burst carry who thrives on AoE pressure and raw damage spikes, Chisa makes a lot of sense as a support slot. She amplifies the damage that already defines that mode and gives you the sustain to stay aggressive. But if your goal is to squeeze every bit of value out of Toon Rupture for boss fights and single-target DPS checks, then Lynae and Mornye are just better fits because they actively fuel that side of her kit instead of ignoring it. In other words, Chisa doesn't replace Lynae or Mornye, and she's not meant to. She shifts Aemeath toward a different damage identity, burst-focused, AoE-leaning, and less dependent on Toon setups. Meanwhile, Lynae and Mornye push her into a more technical, single-target monster that ramps harder the longer the fight goes. And that flexibility is honestly one of the coolest things about Aemeath's design, because your team choice doesn't just change her numbers, it changes how she actually plays. Taking all of this together, Aemeath looks like a top-tier DPS with a lot of mechanical depth. She has strong single-target pressure, reliable AoE, meaningful team buffs, and scaling that doesn't fall off late game. On paper, she's positioned to be one of the strongest characters in the game, if not the new benchmark for Fusion DPS. The only real question left is how smooth her rotations feel in practice and how forgiving her timing windows are for average players. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown and found it helpful, make sure to subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!